my best friend Wheels, his dad's from Canada. I think it's Toronto, and so hockey's in his blood. And he played goalie for the longest time, and then when we joined the beer league. Oh, you're a goalie too? Nice.
Old school goalie, yeah, you bet.
Not, what's crazy is hockey is super popular out here because I live literally 4 blocks from where the San Jose Sharks play in downtown San Jose.
Nice.
And the commissioner of the golf league that we play in, he works for the San Jose Barracuda, which is the minor league team for the Sharks.
Yep.
The AHL team.
Yeah. And then another guy, we nickname him Johnny Rocket. He's a blast. He's an incredible person. I think he like helps out. He used to coach the Junior Sharks. In fact, I think he coached like our new starting goalie, Devin Cooley. So all our friends are hockey. Like 80% of our beer league are hockey players, and I'm fucking amazed at how quickly these guys have picked up golf and are improving. Because that swing is very.
We not just talking about this on the golf course.
We just talked about this on the golf course because there was.
And how underrated, like these guys murder the golf ball. Like I look at some of these dudes, and
we just witnessed it on the golf course.
Yeah,
I feel like such a scrawny, like just like I can hit the ball far, but then it's like they don't look like they're exuding like any extra strength or. It's like it's nothing for them. If I really want to crank on one, I got to swing out of my shoes. And so some of these guys, like the club head speed and the actual ball speed, it's like, dude, like it is no joke. Like hockey players are legit, and you see it in the celebrity tournaments with like the old guys. Like I wouldn't say old, but like Mike Madonna's a stud. Trying to think of was it Mario Lemieux was a good player?
Yep. One of the best.
Joe Pavelski. These guys are like scratch golfers, and it's like, how do you do that after playing an 82 game regular season and playoff games, just getting beat up every single night? And yeah, it's wild. So I was curious, like, if you guys played hockey, who are your teams? And yeah,
I played hockey since I was very small. Never really went anywhere with it. Just kind of, did the minor hockey route through Canada, coming up through. Quit when I was about 13. I was done with that. Picked it up a little later, a few years later, and I transitioned from player to goalie. And I played goal actually, I think my last game I played, I was 43. It was 43 the last game I strapped the pads on for.
Ball hockey or ice hockey?
Ball hockey at that time, yeah. I was done with ice hockey. And it's way too many chances of getting hurt playing that shit. But, yeah, I played a lot of hockey, and it was not, I talk about things that I've done this is one of the things that, one of the projects that I'm doing in my life that's like, I'm going to get the most out of this project, Mulligans and Hackers, that I can, because I'm putting my effort into it. I don't think I ever got out of hockey what I wanted to get out of hockey. But after I stopped playing, or I was still playing, but I started coaching. Coaching was way more rewarding to me than playing the game. Chris and I coached for a little while here together, and we would go to provincial championships, Western championships here in Canada, and we had, for a little town like Medicine Hat, competing against Edmonton, Calgary. We always had success because, again, I come from the my hockey team is the New Jersey Devils. That's the team that. So I've been a Devils fan since '86. That first year they went to the conference finals against the Bruins. They were the underdogs, and I really like underdogs. And so, again, let's start that story. I'm from the Rock, Newfoundland. That's my home province. I was born and raised there. I moved out here when I was 19. I grew up in the original six era. So all of our parents, all of our generation that was my parents' age were all original six guys, right? Montreal, Toronto, that was the two teams out where we were. There was a few Rangers fans, a few Detroit fans, but Montreal and Toronto. So I grew up as a Montreal Canadiens fan. But when me and my pals started playing hockey, we weren't going to be regular six guys. Original six was done. And so when the Devils made that run there, I was like, I'm a Devils fan now. So I've been with them ever since, again, the last few years since we started this project, pro sports has been a far distant thing in my life. I don't watch a lot of hockey. I think I've maybe watched half a dozen games in the last 3 years of hockey. I don't watch baseball anymore. I don't watch golf. I don't watch any of that. I have more of my experiences than sitting down and watching a hockey game for 3 hours. And truthfully, honestly, I'd rather go watch junior hockey than watch pro hockey. That's just a personal preference. Because again, I coached young guys. I liked seeing that development, so I like watching the junior hockey because they're developing and you can follow along with their career, right? And I've coached a couple of guys that have gone on to play international pro hockey here now, and I still follow them. It's interesting to follow them in their careers, where they're going. Because again, you had them as a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old, and they're still, they've made a pro career out of this, not in the NHL, but in other pro leagues around the world, right? So the Devils were my thing, and Chris will tell you where his loyalties lie in a minute, and I'll have a little bit of a circle around rebuttal for that when he tells you who he cheers for.
Okay.
Well, and so growing up, I grew up in a small hamlet on a farm, and hockey was too expensive to play for my parents organized. So I mean, we played we're basically born with skates on up here. So I mean, anywhere there's water that's frozen, we got sticks and pucks, and we're playing. There is shinny everywhere. So I grew up playing a ton of shinny. I mean, I'm an average skater. I mean, there was lots of times where I was like, oh, put me in hockey, and my parents never did. So I fell in love with other sports, but I mean, that didn't stop me from, one of the biggest things up here was my kids were getting older and I started having kids. We would go skating all the time at the frozen rinks, and we teach them how to skate, teach them how to play hockey. Alvin and I coach ball hockey together, right? I mean, I love hockey. As a coach, like Alvin said, we coached at a high level. When Alvin retired from coaching, I continued on coaching. I basically got out of coaching ball hockey when COVID hit, because the group I had, I was essentially the president of our ball hockey league, and I was taking this age group of boys and girls to provincials. Every year we would win gold. They were just phenomenal. And we went to Westerns the one year. We finished fourth in the country. And we just missed out on a medal. And from a small little town with 65,000 people in southern Alberta, right? So it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we played some rec ball hockey together. I played some rec hockey when I moved down here for a little bit, just with the guys. I have not put on a pair of skates probably since I tore my Achilles, though. That's one thing I haven't done, because I've gotten more into golf and stuff like that. But I grew up with 3 channels in my house. There was CBC, there was CTV, and there was, what was the other one?
Nobody important,
because I can't remember who they were.
Was it TSN?
No, we didn't have TSN back then. So Saturday night on CBC, Hockey Night in Canada, always.
Don Cherry.
Yeah, Don Cherry. As a young kid, I mean, the broadcast is always Montreal, Toronto in the early games, Ottawa, and then the later teams in the West where we're from, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. So I love the color blue. I fell in love with the Toronto Maple Leafs, unfortunately, and became a Leafs fan. So I mean, I've been a Leafs fan since basically since I got into hockey, and I mean, growing up, I had a massive collection of, you're a kid and your parents your parents and family and whatnot are like, what do you want for Christmas, or what do you want for this? Oh, I want hockey stuff. I want hockey cards. I used to collect a ton of hockey cards, Alvin did too.
That was a big thing up here when we were younger, was the hockey card thing. That was a whole industry in itself.
Yep, and I mean, it's so I mean, I'm such a big Leafs fan. My wedding was actually like, if you look at my wedding photos, our guest book was a custom Toronto Maple Leafs jersey with our date on the back and our last.
Oh, that's cool.
We signed it. It's framed on our wall. We got photos with everybody wearing a Leafs jersey, both on the groomsmen and the bridesmaids. And my wife
Cool.
was gracious enough to put one on. And it's just, it's something that, but like Alvin said, as I've gotten more into golf, like I used to be a fan that probably for a good decade, I would watch every single game. Every game. I'd never miss a game. I'd never miss a game in the regular season. I'd never miss a playoff game. Didn't matter what was happening. If there was a game that night, I'm like, okay, our plans revolve around this. We need to be home to watch this game.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, you know what? I want to be out golfing. Like even when the playoffs were happening, I'm just like, I'd rather be out on the golf course. Like, I mean, I'm still a fan, but I have other things that I want to do. And being a fan of the Leafs for such a long time,
Toronto.
it's, you just, they haven't won since 1967, by the way.
I was going to circle.
Yeah.
I was going to circle back on part of this, because being a Leafs fan and being disappointed every single year,
Yeah, it gets old.
it has to get old, because as a Devils fan, and I started when the Devils, just turned the corner in their franchise history, getting away from the Mickey Mouse title. I've watched my team personally win 3 Stanley Cups and be in 5 Stanley Cup finals.
Yep.
As a fan,
Yep.
I've got to watch my team lift the cup 3 times, and we have a Leafs
Marty-
fan there.
Marty
I'm
Brodeur.
36 years old, and the last time that they made
The conference
a
final.
real run at it, I was 5 years old.
Were they against the Kings?
Yeah, that was Gretzky. Yeah.
Felix Potvin.
Yeah. Well, I grew up as a huge Potvin fan.
Yeah.
I share a birthday with Matt Sundin, who's arguably
Oh, yeah.
my favorite Leaf of all time. And I mean, it's just, I love hockey, and I do like when I do a lot of driving for work, so I do listen to a ton of different podcasts. So for me, it's
Yeah.
always like this time of the year, it's the breakdown of what went wrong this year. What are we going to change next year? Who's going to be traded? Who's going to be hired? So that's
Let me
always
ask
on
you-
my stuff right now.
Let me ask you this. Was Sheldon Keefe the problem?
Well, not necessarily, but I mean, he had to get fired, right? I mean, after 5-6 years, he's step 1. Step 2 should have been to fire Shanahan, and step 3 is you have to change the core, right? I mean, there has to be accountability. And as a coach, I mean, as someone who's played sports and as a coach who's coached sports, if you don't have accountability up and down your organization or in your roster, you'll never win anything.
If
And
you're
that's
the
the biggest problem.
if you're the GM, who's on your coaching radar?
I mean, I personally, I like Rob Brendamore from Carolina, because it doesn't sound like he's going to be staying there, and he's a very, very good coach. Like he's kind of my dark horse for that spot. I mean, they've already interviewed Berube, but it sounds like he might be going to the Devils. And it's and they've interviewed McLennan and Woodcroft, who used to coach for the Oilers. I mean, ideally for me, I would love to see Rob Brendamore. Like he's a crazy good coach, and he would be the guy that he has a lot of accountability, and he's what that team needs. I mean, they need some other stuff. They need to trade some players. I mean, 8 years of running the same thing back every time. I mean, I'm a realist as a Leafs fan, and I'm like, listen, I like these guys as much as any other fan, but ultimately, I'd like to see them hoist the Stanley Cup before I freaking die. So let's make some changes here to have a chance. Getting out of the first round one time in 8 years is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So, just so you know, man, I think we're going to cut this podcast up into 2 different episodes. So the first episode is going to be us talking about golf.
Yeah.
But I'm going to cut this part off where we're talking about hockey, and I'm going to put it out. I'm going to release it later on down the road, and I'm going to call it the hockey episode.
Dude, okay. So if you guys aren't busy, I'm visiting a buddy who lives out in Nevada over Memorial Day. Huge hockey guy. He could talk. I've listened to him talk to buddies in a garage, eating pizza, drinking beer. I was just a fly on the wall during the whole conversation. This guy is great. And if you ever want to talk hockey, we could just hop on, start a Mulligans and Hackers hockey pod.
Nice,
He's perfect.
nice.
And then two other guys, Mike Methot and Johnny, who I referred to earlier, Johnny Rocket. I'm like, you guys, like, I feel like I'm listening to like poets. Like when I start talking about golf and getting all romantic about it, and like I hear these guys talking about hockey, it's like, wow, I could totally tune in and listen to this like on a daily basis.
Like
Listen
Mike
to them.
Mathot that played in the NHL. Mike Mathot.
Oh, was there a Methot in the NHL?
Yeah, there's a Mike
Yeah.
Mathot that played in the NHL.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
think-
I gotta talk to
when I
my
said the
Mike.
name, he looked at me. He's like, Mike Mathot.
I'm pretty sure he played for Ottawa. If I'm not, Ottawa or Columbus, I believe.
Dude, if he listens to this, like he needs to. I need to know. Like that's wild.
But so let's.
Methot.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. We've one of my buddies. Great dude. Great hockey player.
So I grew up when the Devils were winning their cups and being in the finals. They were a defense first style team. They played the trap.
Scott
right?
Stevens.
Yep. So they played the trap style. So when I coached hockey, and because when we put teams together here, we're building a team out of our drafting base is a few hundred kids, where like Edmonton, Calgary, they're drafting out of thousands of kids. So the philosophy is we weren't going to outscore these teams, but we could out defend these teams.
Outwork them.
So when we were putting teams together, my Devils background philosophy in trap hockey came into play. So when we were putting teams together, we wanted guys who knew how to play without the puck.
We were big two-way game
if
guys.
you could play two-way, that you're on the team. Like we didn't care if you had scored 2 points a game. You could be somebody else's problem. We have our guys that can get points, but they're also what we call plus players, right? Plus players, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a plus player, if you have no points in 10 games, but you're like a plus 20, you're on the team because we know how good you are and we know what you do, right? And again, we like as other coaches, like we get in the whole where dads are coaches. Now, granted, I was a dad as a coach, but I coached after my kid left and had success after I stopped coaching my kid. When you're coaching against the dads and they don't understand the game, I mean, you can outcoach them as just a bench guy, right? Because they'll always load up their first line, put all their best players on one line. That's the line that'll score for us. Well, it's easy to defend against that because you can put your fastest people out there.
Oh yeah.
And just say keep them away from the net, right? Just
get in the way.
Just be a pylon, right? If they go around you, catch up to them and make them go around you again.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You can teach a kid, and this was one of the things that I always prided myself on as a coach, and I know Chris did too, was as a kid, if you never played the game before, like you never stepped on the ice before, you can have a role. And you can have a very critical role if you can skate and if you know where to go.
Yep.
And now it's our job as coaches to tell you where to go. And we've had some, I can go down the list of kids that, again, you talk about emotion. I can get emotional talking about some of these kids and how they grow as young men and watch them come up and learn the game from guys that never played on an ice surface before, like playing shinny and stuff, but you go out there and you play in this
More structured environment
where the guys on the other team have way more experience than you do. But you can go out there and have a role in this team and and be successful. Yeah, man, that's like the next level when it comes to seeing that game from that perspective. Right?
I've always been interested, just how unbelievably fast the game is. There's so much going on.
It's getting faster and faster. Like it was. I mean, as we were kind of growing up, I mean, it's fast, but it's like now they're hitting like crazy speeds. It's just like golf, right? Like the equipment now in golf is so insane that you're getting insane ball speeds, insane distance. It's no different in hockey. You're getting insanely good skates. You're getting insanely good sticks. Like the torque that these guys are putting in, the work that they put in the gym, like it's all turning out to be, the game is so much faster. The shots are way faster, way harder, way more accurate. The goalie's got to be way better to have success nowadays, right? Like it all in turn. That's why when they talk about who's the greatest ever, and they're like, well, if you go for this decade or this era or whatever, it's hard to compare because they're just different eras and completely different equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in golf. You can't really compare who the greatest of all time is really, unless you go off of wins, I mean, that's the only one true thing you can use.
Yeah,
I'm a big
that makes
Jack fan.
sense.
I'm a big Jack Nicklaus fan.
I like Jack
Um,
Nicklaus, but I grew up
you
as a
know,
Tiger guy.
and again, so I missed this entire, like I missed Jack the back end, like I missed '86 when Jack won the Masters. I missed Tiger's whole run. So me on the outside coming back in and looking at this golf, going back and watching, because there's a great YouTube channel called The Masters, and on that YouTube channel they have the final round of every Masters all the way back to 1969.
Yeah,
Yeah. So as we talk about a armchair historian, when I found that YouTube channel that I've watched from '69 to like 2001, probably about 4 or 5 times now, because I'll just put it on
Yeah.
I'll put it on in the office here and just have it on, and I'll just listen to Vern talking. Oh yes, dude, that's it.
the
But
the
back to
first
that.
one the first one I vividly remember watching on TV was the Greg Norman collapse against Nick Faldo, and I want to say that was '96. Crenshaw won '95, Faldo '96.
Because Feldo won 2 in a row there, right?
97 was Woods, and then '98 was O'Meara. So, yeah, just a collapse of epic proportions. I want to say it was like a 6 or 7 shot lead. My goodness. But yeah, I remember that was the first one I remember a little bits and pieces of '95 when Crenshaw knocked in the putt to win, and he puts his hands in his face and he
Because
starts
he just
crying.
lost his coach, right? He lost his coach that
Yeah,
week, I think.
yeah. Harvey Penick. Yeah. But yeah, you can go down just an absolute rabbit hole like on a Friday night, and you just start watching old stuff.
Dude,
And
they got like old rounds of the Open, old rounds of the U.S. Open. I mean,
oh yeah,
like
then before you
I'm
know
into
it,
that.
it's Monday. Before you know it, it's already Monday. You got to go to work, and you're
Yeah.
surrounded by like 4 empty pizza boxes, and you're like, "Wow, I've been at it a while."
All right, pal. Well, I think we should probably wrap this up now.
Dude, that. You guys are an absolute blast to talk to. That was so much fun.
Dude, yeah, we will have to do this again, maybe even after the shindig, because I think we should do something with Derek and Dom. I've been wanting to reconnect with them for a while, and I think
Totally.
after the shindig, we need to have a podcast talking about the shindig, and
Totally.
you let us know totally what we missed out on during that event. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, we'll be posting about it probably for a month. I still have to make a video from I told Jordan, I'm like, hey man, I am terrible at doing things in a timely manner. It's like I just post things whenever I want, but like long format stuff, it's like I get ideas in my head and I'm like, no, I don't have the time for it. I'll start and then I'll save it, and then I use a bunch of different apps, but I want to do like a cool one from last year's to promote this year's, just to get that final push of people that might be interested, be like, what is this? And so be on the lookout for that. But we should totally do a podcast with these guys from Save Par, Jordan, and do a complete rundown and plan for the future ones.
And I think, you can run this idea by them. Like, you guys will all have been at the event. Me and Chris, if he's available, will be the narrators of it to get all we'll do the interview of you guys.
Yeah.
And get all the information out of you guys. Like we'll do
What
that round
would be
table thing.
hilarious is to do a pre-shindig and then after, and like we'll all be probably zombies, bloodshot eyes from not sleeping. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun flight home. I'll tell you that.
Before you go though, pal, before we end this, one of the things I like to know is what are you rocking in the bag? Like what are you taking out to the course regularly?
So I've got a Sim 2 Max driver with the upgraded Ventus shaft, the Velcor.
Nice.
And it's the legit one. I actually won it in a giveaway. It was crazy. I can't hit a low profile 3-wood to save my life. I feel like I'm gonna sky everything. And so my 3-wood is actually a Callaway mini driver. That I've got. Yeah, I've got the loft cranked up. So it's basically just an oversized looking 3-wood And then I've got some Cleveland Zipcore wedges that are stamped with SPS on them for Sucker Pin Society.
I like it.
And then I've been rocking these Strixon. What are they? I've had them so long I forgot. Z545s. I used to play blades for a really long time when I was really serious about golf. And I said, fuck this shit. And I went to cavity. I went to straight cavity back irons that have what I really dig about these Strixons is they have the V sole. I don't know if you're familiar with like the old school McGregor blades.
Yep.
That
Yes,
think of
I am.
McGregor's. And it's extremely difficult because I can come down pretty steep. Like I take pretty big divots, especially with short and mid irons. And it's very, very difficult to hit the ball fat with that V sole. It's like it penetrates the turf, and then with that V sole, it wants to come back out. And then I've got a TaylorMade. I've got the what is this bad boy? What is this one? Yeah, it's the Spider Tour, and it's all blacked out,
Nice.
black and white, like Sucker Pin. And same giveaway, won this. I couldn't believe it. This guy out in Oregon was doing one, and it was a driver, wedges, and putter. And I was like, you got it. I thought he was joking when he said I won. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I literally forgot I entered his giveaway. So on his stories, he's like, hey, congratulations, Sucker Pin. And I sent him a DM, and I'm like, my mom's going to be so proud. Am I going to the Olympics? And then he put like a bunch of question marks and like the emoji thinking face thing. And I was like, yeah, am I going to the Olympics? What did I win? Because he even put like a trophy and like an Olympic champion in his story with my name on it. And I'm like, he's like, dude, you just won my biggest giveaway ever. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. It's crazy, but yeah, I've had the irons for probably 7 or 8 years now. Love them. My clubs are all tweaked though, because I'm a custom fit guy, and like
Me too.
I was kind
Me
of like Bryson, like Mr. Tinkerer, ever since I knew how to build clubs. And so I'm like 5'8.5", and my clubs are 4 degrees flat when it comes to the lie angle. So my hands are really low, and I return the club to impact with my hands really low. I wouldn't teach people to do this, because if you're not good at it, it's Shank City. And then I've got the KBS tour shaft that I switched to a regular, but I tipped them. So when I shortened them, because I play everything to the old men's standard. All the new clubs nowadays, a lot of people don't realize are slightly longer, because they're trying to promote like the distance gain. Yeah. And so I got used to it. The clubs that I played with when I was a kid, they were always shorter. And so I've always had a hard time with longer clubs, the newer clubs, because I always felt like I had to choke down on it. And so I tipped them, so they kind of play in between a regular and stiff. So it helps me hit the ball both ways. Like if I want to hit a draw, I can hit a draw. Hard to cut a wedge though, especially a cavity back pitching wedge 9-iron. But like the 8-7-6-5, it's like I can hit a draw, I can hit a fade, and then I think that's it. Yeah.
What do you play?
guys got?
What do you play for balls?
So actually, I had played the Pro V1 since that ball came out. It started with the Pro V1, and then maybe 10 years ago started playing the Pro V1 X. And then I've been using that, but I've been sprinkling in Jordan's Odin balls depending on the condition. Because I've got our logo on them, and I'm like, these are so cool, dude. And like they fly, like no joke, they fly just as far as a Pro V1.
I was actually thinking about.
I haven't seen any change in distance. The Pro V1, I can curve a little bit more, but if I'm playing a pretty straightforward golf course, where I don't need a ton of side spin to work a ball left to right, I'm like, dude, like these are legit. Like I see no no difference in yardages, and it's whether or not like kind of green speed too. Like if the greens are soft, might as well throw an Odin in there. I don't want to have too much spin, but been a huge fan, and he's a good friend, and it's like shit, dude. Like
Well, I think
I'll
we're
definitely support
playing
you.
we're playing Saturday, Sunday, Monday this weekend,
Yeah.
and we're playing two courses that we haven't played yet this year. And I was thinking this is the weekend I was going to bring the Odin golf balls out because I play the Pro V1s as well.
Yeah,
Like maybe this weekend is the weekend we get those on the golf course.
yeah, yeah. I just played with the other day. Here's my problem is like I think I've literally forgotten how to putt. I don't know what's going on, but I'm hitting the ball extremely solid, but I have no feel on the greens with I think I'm due to switch it up and go to my backup putter for a little bit, which is
Refocus. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you just need that different feel, and I think I've just been putting it off too long, and now it's like my touch around my touch on the greens. I'm blowing putts past the hole for no reason at all, and then I'm pushing left to righters, so they're missing on the low side. It's just like stuff. It's like, dude, clean it up. Like go switch for a little bit, and I think I've got a video, or I posted it yesterday, me just completely three jacking a hole after a good tee shot. And then I knocked it on a par 5 and 2 immediately after and three putted that. And I was like, dude, like get some work in. Like
That's the frustration I feel
Story
regularly
of
right there.
Alvin's life.
Right?
Yeah.
That is the frustration. All right,
Yeah.
pal. Well, Chris, man, I really appreciate you coming on and taking some time with us to do this, man.
Yeah,
Totally.
awesome.
I think we could actually talk for probably another, 4 or 5 hours of just getting shit in. But we're gonna have to do that somewhere down the road and
Yeah.
get some friends involved in this because yeah, man, this was a really great chat, and I really
yeah.
appreciate you coming on and spending some time with me and Chris.
Absolutely. Like you guys are on to some really great things, and I can't wait to see where it all goes. I know it's going to lead somewhere good, and the connections you guys make, and more power to you. Keep on trucking, and best of luck to you boys. Can't wait to do it again.
Thanks, pal. I really
Thanks, man.
appreciate it.
You got it. Take care.